Which Bible should we use? Many people have a hard time reading the King James Version and find that many of the newer versions are easier to understand. It is true that many of the newer versions are easier to understand, but is the message contained in them consistent with the received text? Let's examine several verses now so we can make an informed decision on this subject. For the sake of space, I will abbreviate the Bible versions. First, pick up your Bible and look for these verses. Matthew 17:21, 18:11, 23:14, Mark 7:16, 9:44, 9:46, 11:26, 15:28, Luke 17:36, 23:17, John 5:4, Acts 8:37, 15:34, 24:7, 28:29, Romans 16:24. These verses are simply missing from many Bibles. In fact, there are many verses removed from most of the newer Bibles. As an example, we can open the Bible to the middle of the book of Acts. From that point to the end of the book of Revelation is the equivalent of how many words are missing from the NIV translation. The NIV is not alone, though. All of the modern Bibles, including the New King James Version, ignore the received text hundreds of thousands of times. Revelation 22:18-19. King James Version 18. For testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. 19. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. Which Bible is correct? KJV, NIV, NLT, ESV, NASB, ISV, GWT, and so on. Some specifics. Let's look at some specifics. You decide whether these changes are important or not. Is Jesus God? King James Version. John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. NWT. In the beginning the Word was, and the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. John 1:1 was changed in some Bibles. The New Word Translation says, and the Word was a God, instead of Word was God. Notice the little g. In effect, calling the Word Jesus, a pagan deity who killed Goliath. The KJV and the NIV both tell us that David killed Goliath in 1 Samuel 17:50. However, an issue arises in 2 Samuel 21:19 when the NIV contradicts itself by telling us that Elhanan son of Jare-Oregim the Bethlehemite killed Goliath. NIV 28:21-19. In another battle with the Philistines at Gob, Elhanan son of Jare-Oregim the Bethlehemite killed Goliath the Gittite, who had a spear with a shaft like a weaver's rod. The same verse in the KJV tells us that it was the brother of Goliath that Elhanan the son of Jare-Oregim, a Bethlehemite, slew. Does Judah rule with God or against God? KJV Hos 11:12. Ephraim compasseth me about with lies, and the house of Israel with deceit. But Judah yet ruleth with God, and is faithful with the saints. The KJV says with God, the NIV says against God. NIV Ephraim has surrounded me with lies, the house of Israel with deceit, and Judah is unruly against God, even against the faithful Holy One. Did Jesus come to save? KJV Matthew 18:11. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. This verse is missing from the NIV, NLT, ESV, GWT, ERV, and the WNT. Isn't that an important verse? Does it matter whether it is written as God, God, or gods? KJV Dan 3:15. Now if ye be ready that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? The New King James changes the word God to God in this verse. NKJ. Now if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? There are several more times where the NKJ has either changed God to God or changed gods to God in the book of Daniel alone. For example, Daniel 4:8, 4:9, 4:18, 5:11, 5:14, 6:7, 6:12, and 11:38. This is only a very small sampling of the numerous changes in these newer Bibles.